The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Hey, this is Matt Landry, the voice of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars The Clone Wars. You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars. This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away. From movies to books, TV shows, and more, we're looking at the deeper themes and meanings found in the Star Wars universe. And be sure to follow The Secrets of Star Wars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or on the StarQuest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X, where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And be sure to get your official Secrets of Star Wars gear at sqpn.com/merch. And I'm your host, Jeff Haecker, and joining me tonight on the panel is Thomas Salerno. Hey, Thomas.
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, and Patrick Mason. Hey, Pat.
Howdy, Jeff.
All right, so today we are discussing the trailer and then speculating on it of the next Star Wars film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, that comes out in May. So before we start give the synopsis, I thought I'd give a brief kind of lightning recap of where season 3 ended, because that is the last time we saw Din and Grogu. So it ended with Mandalore being reclaimed by the Mandalorians. They defeated Moff Gideon. The Darksaber was destroyed, and Din was kind of starting to work for the New Republic on a contract basis to hunt down ex-warlords and other targets of interest. And Zeb as well was on a Delphi base, which is where Din was kind of working out of, because he was kind of coordinating with Carson Teva, who was on a Delphi. So Zeb is there because Zeb is in this trailer and in the movie. So, and I will also note, and I have a lot of notes on this later, that in Ahsoka, Thrawn returned to the galaxy. So just keep that in mind, that Thrawn has returned.
Somehow he returned.
Space whales. Well, actually, no, not space whales. They built a giant ship.
Yeah.
Giant hyperspace ring.
Yeah. But to give the trailer of this movie, it opens with a new Razor Crest flying in, or I guess it could be a flashback, but it looks like a new one. Din and Grogu look over a dune at an Imperial base. They meet with Sigourney Weaver's character, and we see some action scenes, including Zeb fighting with his bow rifle. Then we see a Hutt riling up a crowd with Din and Grogu looking on, and then Din seems to go into the ring fighting a big creature. The trailer ends with Din and Grogu attacking a squad of AT-ATs on a snowy cliff and blowing one up as it falls off the mountain. And the final shot is of Grogu along with some Anzellans, which are Babu Frick's species, and Grogu shoots a paintball at a creature with the Anzellans saying, "Good shot, baby." So, all right. So yeah, that's kind of the brief synopsis, but we have a lot of more to discuss on it, and just from some of the other news and things that have come out. So I figure we start with the impressions of the trailer / any kind of general things you want to see in the movie. So Thomas, what was your impression of the trailer, and anything you want to see in the movie generally?
It was fun. My expectations were completely met, I guess, in terms of what I would like to see in the movie. Just more of the same of what we got in the television show. Because, I just think The Mandalorian is great, and I'm glad that it's finally on the big screen. And yeah, I just like the feel of it all. Just, good old-fashioned swashbuckling space adventure. That's great. Yeah. 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. And what about you, Pat?
Yeah, it definitely has that feel as a trailer, right? It's an action movie trailer. But there's three things I really loved about it. The first was the music, right? It is very much the Mandalorians, the Mandalorians music, right? That very stylistic version of sort of Star Wars music. And one of the things I love about all the shows is they all have their own kind of music to them. The second thing I really loved about it was the fact that it seemed to be focused on the Mandalorian and Grogu, which I always have to be a little bit leery in movies, especially Star Wars movies, about like, okay, who's the movie actually about, what it's about, and who's the actual main characters. But it does look like it primary focus is on them. And the third thing, there's a lot of trailer magic they do. And what I mean by that is, so for instance, they're looking over that dune at something, right? And they have a monocyte kind of a thing, monocular, right? But then you see the Imperial Fortress as looked through a binocular. It's got two circles, right?
Yeah,
and so
I noticed that.
Probably not the same thing they're looking at. And they do a lot of little things like that over the course of the trailer, which always, those are always little fun things to catch and then to think about when you're actually watching the show. Because if you don't catch them, a lot of times you'll go into the show and be like, this is nothing like the trailer. And it's like, well, yeah, kind of, because they were pulling a lot of tricks on you through the trailer. So, but yeah, generally looks like a lot of fun, looks exciting, looks Star Wars-y. So Star Wars-y.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The trailer just looks like a lot of fun, and I've been wanting to see Star Wars again on the big screen. And this isn't a podcast about The Rise of Skywalker or the sequels, but
7 years. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's been 7 years,
yes. And it will be 7.5 by the time it actually comes out. But it has been a while. But thankfully we've gotten a ton of TV that has mostly been pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's mostly been pretty good.
Even the stuff that didn't hit as well, I found enjoyment in, I think, for the most part. So,
well, you can be wrong, Jeff.
I said I found enjoyment in it. I didn't say if I enjoyed it for ironically, but
I think I actually do agree with you. I think there is a lot more enjoyment in it than there was detraction. So sorry.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart idea to get it because since they announced this, or even before they announced this one, before the trailer, they had already announced upcoming things like Starfighter is coming out in 2027. I think on the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, of the original movie.
Wow.
I think that's right. So they've announced, I think this push to get back to the theaters kind of coincides with streaming not really making a lot of money, I think. And
yeah,
so I think it's a smart way to do it, to start with Mandalorian.
Well, I'm just glad a movie they announced is coming out.
Yes.
Because they've announced so many films.
They announce and then they cancel and shelve
quietly canceled or shelved them. Yeah.
But not to go too far off on that tangent, because that could be a podcast itself. But for this movie, so as I mentioned, Din and Grogu, they're kind of, we left off their mission kind of being to track down these warlords and these targets of interest. And I have some speculation on this, or maybe just a strong desire on what this will be, but I'll save it for a little later because it relates to more speculation, and I don't want to completely derail us yet. So, but do y'all have any just general, thoughts or speculation on what, what are Din and Grogu looking for in this movie? I mean, I think we can know they're looking for Rotta the Hutt, which I have more on here, but I guess the question is why, because it seems kind of odd that what is Rota's, what is that connection to? It seems like he's the mini boss, or like, he's the on the fetch quest. You've got to get info from him on something. So what do y'all have any thoughts or speculation on what is Din looking for? Or what are the, what is really the New Republic looking for that he's working for?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know Rotta the Hutt was going to be in this movie until you put it in our outline, Jeff, because I hadn't been paying that close attention to announcements. I just saw the trailer. I was like, great. But then when I looked into it, I was like, oh, okay. It's weird because that was a character who just kind of like, he appeared once in that kind of awful animated Clone Wars movie, and then
no, not kind of. I mean, it was bad enough that I didn't watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, same. It had the same reaction on me. Yeah, exactly. It put me off of Clone Wars for a long time. But anyway, that character appeared in that, and then he was never in anything again. And I'm like, oh, they just want us to forget that ever happened. But now that supposedly they're bringing him back, I'm like, okay, it's Pedunky Muffkin, as he was called in that. And I just don't know why. Like, why are they doing that? Why are they bringing this character back? I mean, if anybody can salvage that, it might be Dave Filoni. But yeah, I don't know what to think. Why are they reintroducing this character? But I do have one question, though. It's like, if he's still alive, and I don't know if he's supposed to be an adult by this time or what, but it's like, because I always figured like he doesn't seemingly try to take over his dad's business. If you remember in the Book of Boba Fett, it was, what was it? Jabba's cousins? His cousins, the twins. Yeah. So I'm wondering about that. Like, you know, or is he going to be like a teenage Hutt, or like, what are we? And I don't know what their life cycle, you know, entails in terms of like how long they grow. But yeah.
Because it's been, you know, Clone Wars was was about 20 something years, 20, 21, 22 years before the original trilogy. And then it's been, I think we're about 9 years, 10 years after that. So it's been, you know, 30 to 35 years, somewhere in that general time frame. So I think he's kind of supposed to be kind of a young adult, kind of rising to power. And what they've kind of described him as, which I guess we can kind of, you know, talk about him now, is he's, you know, if we didn't make it clear, he's the son of Jabba from the Clone Wars animated movie that came out, that I did see in the theaters. So
I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters. I either did or I saw it at home. I can't, like, on home video. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I remember. I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
I remember walking out and being like, what did they do to Star Wars? Like,
right.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
But he's supposed to be a gladiator type of character in this movie. So, which it seems like he's in a fight ring, or he's a promoter of some. I think they've called him a gladiator, though.
So did that come out from like Lucasfilm, or is that?
I don't remember where it came. I don't remember where it came from.
Because we see a kind of muscular Hutt in the ring, but I don't know if that's supposed to be him or not.
I think it is. Yeah, because I mean, I think if you have more than one Hutt, it would get kind of weird, kind of confusing.
And I think it all kind of swirls around what's going on with the various factions and in the Outer Rim, right? Because anytime you have a government changeover, you have all of the shifting sands of, you know, the various, smuggler factions or whatever you want to call them. And, you know, we get a little bit of glimpse at how that, you know, can kind of work in Andor with, what's his name? Kind of, you know, okay, we have all these new oppressive laws. Well, there's always ways around them and shifting money and everything. So you have this empire that's operated for about 20 some odd years that falls. And then what happens to, you know, the various factions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a real question out there as to what happens with the Hutts, because I think there is some source material, and I want to say it's comics, that effectively show a lot of the upper level echelons of the Hutt. I keep thinking smugglers, but that's not what they call themselves.
Oh, the Hutt cartels.
The Hutt cartels are killed off.
They are killed off in the Clone Wars by Maul. So when Maul's taking over Black Sun and, you know, eventually the Mandalore, he wipes out the Hutts for the most part, or at least like the high ranking ones. I think
like the heads of the families.
Yeah, Jabba survives, of course, and a few others, I think, who weren't actually, on Nal Hutta when it happened, when he was there. But
you still have hut space too.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, there are more huts out there. I think it's a case of the lower ranking huts rising to take over people's empires, or their other underlings kind of rising to take over their.
And the Empire kind of had an understanding with the huts in terms of like they kind of let them operate as long as they were getting their cut.
Right.
And I think that's probably going to be what we see playing out here, is that sort of thing happening with some of the Shadow, the Shadow Council, the Imperial Shadow Council members. Hopefully Pelian's in on this one, because as much as everybody's a Thrawn fanboy, fangirl, I'm a Pelion fan.
Yeah, let's get Admiral Pelion back in action.
The only a rational Imperial,
pragmatist,
right?
Yeah.
And I suspect there's going to be some sort of major uplift going within, or upset going on in the Hutt group that is effectively backed or fueled by the Empire or some Imperial faction, right? Maybe Thrawn, maybe not. My guess is will probably lead back to Thrawn or involve Thrawn somehow, so they can loop in the Ahsoka group. And the question in my mind is, are we seeing him as a promoter, as kind of like the guy running the ring, or as an actual fighter? And then, what's the scoop on that? And then I think from my viewpoint, I'm going to guess more towards the promotion side, because what we end up seeing as a fight in the ring is Grogu and Din fighting off these giant lizard monsters.
Mantelian Savrip.
Yes.
That's what that giant thing is. And if you recognize it, it is one of the pieces on the classic Dejarik board in the Millennium Falcon. It's that one that R2 uses that kills Chewie's piece, and he gets really mad. But it's like, he made a fair move. Screaming about it won't help you. But yeah, Mantelian Savrip, which makes me think that they're on Ord Mantell in that scene, that may be where the gladiatorial pit is, because one, they're fighting a Mantelian Savrip, and also it looks like Grogu is eating Mantel mix.
Yes.
So I think they might actually be on Ord Mantell, which is cool.
And for me, I think Rota being the promoter is very likely, but I also could see him having taken that role through his combat, because there are some huts in the Legends which were there's one I'm thinking of in particular that was very muscular, and he wasn't just a slug, but he was more like a snake, and I think he was they were on a planet that had amplifying force power, so he was it amplified him enough that he could kind of pretend to be a Jedi for a little bit. So we've seen muscular huts in Legends, but I don't think we've seen it in canon. So
now I remember seeing one in some of the Marvel stuff from recent years. Okay,
and maybe I'm not as up on the comics. I've read them up to a point, and then I just hadn't, for no other reason, I just hadn't gone back to them. But
there's too much. You'll never.
Yeah.
But I could very much see him being kind of a Vince McMahon kind of mobile promoter, where sometimes he gets in the ring and he takes a chair to the back and he throws a guy. This is. You kind of expect there would be that WWE level of entertainment, right? The fake, not real. There's probably the real gladiatorial stuff going on, but there's probably also the fake gladiatorial stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's all for show and everybody gets their payoff at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we did see that in a little bit in season 2 of The Mandalorian. In the very first episode, he was going to, I forget the guy's name, but he shows up to a fight ring, and there's two Gamorreans fighting each other. So that is
with the Cyclops guy played by oh gosh, what's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Luigi from the original Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah,
John Leguizamo.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I had forgotten Leguizamo had gotten into this.
Yeah.
So I've kind of heard this idea, and I think I kind of tend to think this is that maybe there's some intelligence that Rhoda has, that people think he has, because, you know, they think maybe he inherited Jabba's, you know, a lot of Jabba's businesses, or, you know, at least a lot of his, you know, maybe his information. And I think there's some information that someone is looking for, or multiple someones are looking for. And that's what Din and Grogu are doing, is they're tracking him down to try to get that information. Which again, I have speculation on this that I'm saving because I don't want to derail this completely. But that's kind of where I'm thinking. Yes, not yet. We're staying on the rails for a little bit here.
Yeah. I'm excited because it looks like we're going to get Nar Shaddaa, I want to say, the moon for Nal Hutta.
Right. Yeah.
Because we get a little bit of the sort of seedy, I don't know, outside where it's raining and stuff. And there's a couple shots that have enough, whatever the script is, and I can't remember the name of it, but the Imperial script.
Arabish.
Yeah, Arabish on the billboards that people have translated it, and one of them is like just like spice, like, and like so if you're. Yeah, if you've got a full blown neon advertisement for a spice den, it's probably not on a civilized world. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, I think I really think it is going to kind of center around sort of the Hutts and how they interplay with the Empire. I will be very interested to see how much New Republic stuff is in it.
Yeah,
because we didn't get that much in the trailer. But we got a little bit.
Well, and before we get there, I was going to say there's a snow planet, and do we think it's Hoth?
No.
You don't?
I don't. No.
There were trees, I think, so I'm like, no trees.
There are, but they've also retconned things like having a forest on Mustafar in the sequels.
Yeah, that was stupid.
So I'm not going to say it is Hoth, but they are really pushing the connection to the original trilogy. Like even the Smuggler's Run ride at Disney, which is the Millennium Falcon ride, they're changing it to be Mandalorian focused, and they're going to revisit planets of the original trilogy. And all of it is, you know, it's like the biggest marketing push to you know, push people from your theme park to the theater, and vice versa. So
I will point out that those AT-ATs are, at least in canon, the model that they used in the trailer are the kind of early model AT-ATs, kind of the Mark 1s, not like the main AT-AT variant that you see in Empire Strikes Back. These were kind of the early ones where they don't have that arched back. The back is kind of, you know, level with the head. That makes sense. We see this early variant in Rebels. We see it in some of the recent video games. So it looks like the Empire has taken some older equipment out of mothballs.
Yeah. And to touch on the theme park stuff, so Star Tours has almost always added and subtracted planets as the movies and TV shows have come out. So there's lots of stuff in there, you know, because the original was just like the original trilogy stuff. And then as they started releasing newer things, starting with really right after the Phantom Menace, if I remember correctly, you started being able to accidentally pour it into the pod race, and there were a couple other things.
That was cool.
So if you go now, like the number of potential combinations you could get for like the planets, because it randomizes every time you ride, it's like in the hundreds of what you could end up with seeing and doing on a Star Tours ride. So
yeah.
It's not a waste to ride that ride 20 times in a row.
and now on what I've heard is that the Millennium Falcon, I don't know if it's changed to this, but the engineer position on the Falcon ride, they actually get to pick where you go. So it's not just you're pushing random buttons occasionally. You actually get to pick where you go, which I did like playing engineer. Like it felt like I get to press buttons, and like once I wrote it a few times when we went.
It's all these buttons blinking and these things beeping and blinking and beeping.
So y'all don't think it's Hoth. All right.
No, I don't. I do think Smuggler's Run probably is due for a change. I've that because it's a coaxium steel that you're doing at the behest of Hondo Tanaka. So that's a callback to two different shows that have been not on the, Han Solo or the Solo movies a while ago, and Hondo hasn't really been anything real recently.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising we're going to see that change pretty significantly. There's, unlike the Rise of the Resistance ride, which is very much in a particular time and place in the Star Wars universe, you could do Smuggler's Run over a huge variety of things, because most of what you've got to change is dialogue and screen stuff. So I don't know if you guys have ever ridden any of the rides, but
yeah,
Rise of Resistance is possibly one of the best
it's amazing
theme park attractions ever made.
So yeah, it's so good. Yeah, and then the other kind of, I thought initially maybe the bar that we see Din start a fight in, or gets a fight happening, could be Dagobah, or I mean, not Dagobah, Bespin.
Oh.
But then you said Nar Shaddaa, and I think that's because it seems like he's going into that bar from Nar. So I think that's right.
Yeah.
But where Dagobah comes in is we see Grogu swimming in the trailer. So we see him swimming in the water, and I just have to throw it out there because put on my tinfoil hat and put my red string up. But do you think they could be? It's probably not, but is there a chance it's Dagobah that he's swimming on?
I mean, I'm not going to say there's no chance, but it just seems more likely that it's Mandalore.
Yeah, probably.
That it's that pool
planet
down there. Then again,
oh yeah,
I don't know. That I will say, of all the scenes, that one confused me the most. As in I don't know what's going on here. Like, I don't know how Grogu would end up having to swim in what looked like a rather large body of water. That seems, it's
cool that they could make the puppet do that. I mean,
yes.
like that was a neat effect. But.
Well, yeah, and that's a big thing. I'm wondering, is that still a puppet or is the CGI, right? Because you can get away with a lot more CGI-ness underwater because you can put a bunch of filters and graininess, and it hides a lot of the CGI-ness to things. I would be floored if this is actually a real practical effect, but I don't know.
Or it could be a combination of they like have kind of a basic puppet doing the motions, and then they CG over it so it doesn't look completely fake. But
yeah, and like animatronic, at least the older animatronics, it was notorious. Like they're notoriously hard to operate in water. Like if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of like Jurassic Park, like during the rain scene with the T-Rex, after a while the animatronic was started to have like seizures, and they would like seize up, and they would have to stop filming and dry it off, and then animatronics have always been kind of... I know there's a lot of animatronics in Grogu's head for his various expressions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, 3 different remote controls, like one for the eyes, one for the ears, and the head itself.
Yeah. All right, well, we can move on. We started kind of touching on the New Republic some, but it seems like Sigourney Weaver's character, I can't remember if they've given her a name. It may have come out that that they've named her character, like, or released the name, but she seems like the one that's going to be kind of, the point person for Din in his mission in this movie.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Yeah. And she doesn't speak, but we see her prevent Grogu from getting his snacks in the trailer because
he makes a raspberry.
Yeah, he's trying to force pull the snacks, and she doesn't allow him. So
yeah,
it's not much to go on. But what do y'all have any thoughts, or what do y'all? I mean, I think it's cool that she's because she's such a sci-fi icon that she's now in Star Wars, because she's not been in Trek, but she's of course from Alien, and then has been in other things since
Avatar,
then,
James Cameron's Avatar. Yeah.
But did y'all have any thoughts or ideas on what her role, or or is she just kind of okay, and I did pull her name. It looks like it's Colonel Ward, so she's a
colonel.
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering about that because it's actually fairly difficult to figure out from if I remember correctly, exactly what rank people are from the various objects that are on them in the Republic, because it changes depending on, or not just from the Rebellion to the Republic, because apparently it changes. Like, it changes through the course of the Rebellion and then also into the Republic. So if you don't know exactly where time period you're in, it can be notoriously difficult to pin down what rank somebody actually is. So I was kind of curious about that. So she's a colonel. So that seems kind of that that seems high up, right?
Yeah. One step below general.
Right. So my guess, and I do wonder if she's going to be connected in with the stuff that goes on in the Ahsoka series, where Hera tells the council that, what's going on out there, and they kind of don't believe her, but then they sort of do believe her, but they do the typical government thing. Yeah. And I wonder, and it would be awesome if she ends up being working for Mon Mothma, and there being a tie back there, whether we get to see Mon or not, although I would like to. But that would bring her into it too.
Yeah, and I mean, theoretically, this movie is leading up to whatever the Mandoverse wrap-up will be, which, we don't know if at this point if it's going to be a movie or like a limited series. I think a lot of it depends on how this movie does at the box office, and I think they've said if this movie does well, they'll make more Mandalorian movies. So yeah, I think, so I think a lot rides on the performance here. I know they've announced and canceled stuff, as we talked about, but I think with Dave Filoni being kind of overall in charge of it now, in charge of, Star Wars content, I think the Mandoverse wrap up will be made, but we just don't know the format of it. But yeah, but that's just to speak to your mention of of everything kind of tying in.
Yeah. And I think where they have to go, if they want to make a story that they don't have to do this, but I think if they're going to make it both compelling and fit within the broader Star Wars universe, is it has to end kind of with the birth of the First Order, right? Because I think what they've been doing, what the double Fs, Filoni and Favreau have been doing with most of their shows, have been tying together strings that were sort of left by a lot of the movies, especially the sequel movies, but, occasionally their own work, right? Clone Wars itself was a giant tie-up of, what happens between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, right? And then, the very first the very first Star Wars story movie we get is Rogue One, which is a tie-up of, how did they actually get the plans, right? And so I think if they're going to do what they have done a lot with their shows, and they've done very well, is get to the point where the First Order makes sense, because right now it still doesn't make a lick of sense.
Nope. No sense.
I mean, if
the Final Order makes even less, but that's...
Well, if you've read the Aftermath trilogy, they do kind of... It at least gives a little bit more context, but you're right, there is a lot of missing pieces of because in Aftermath, that's the kind of the trilogy of books, and it ends with the Battle of Jakku, which is the Empire's kind of on paper their official loss of the war, and and one of the admirals takes a lot of forces out into the unknown regions. And a lot of people think that she's going to start, and she will basically link up with some of Palpatine's former stuff out there, and get to the First Order, while somehow Palpatine is returning back on Exegol and building the Final Order and all that business. But
what did they call that? The Shadow Council got together. It was a Project Lazarus. It was something
Project
like
Necromancer.
Necromancer.
Because we saw that also in the Bad Batch,
yeah,
too. Right. So we've had that through line.
Yeah, they're definitely and I think it's cool that they're kind of building up to, and because I'm never gonna like the sequels as much as I like anything else, but if they're starting to make connections that are making it, and I do like Force Awakens and Last Jedi for the most part. Tross is still it's still not something I really like all that much. It has some cool parts of it and some good, moments, but overall as a film, it doesn't really hang together that well. But
I'm like if you take the middle one out, I'm good. Like it's the problem is The Last Jedi for me.
Okay.
I can do the bridge, and that's because the direction's the same.
Yeah.
They with the original trilogy, you had Lucas as a single writer.
Mm-hmm.
You had different directors every time, but he was still the single writer, right? And then with the prequels, you had Lucas as the writer and director, and the man nobody would tell this is a bad idea to, which that was problematic, at least,
Except Terry Brooks. Brooks, who wrote the novelization of The Phantom Menace, like famously told him no on several things and apparently had an impact.
And I think as a creative person, you need those people around you who are willing to tell you no. But the problem, the sequel trilogy, it was so scattershot. It's barely a trilogy. Different writers, different directors, nobody talking to each other. And
reacting to what people didn't like and overcorrecting
and overcorrect. Yeah.
I want to Solo. No,
I want to. I like this idea of the New Republic, sending, essentially contracting people to go out and hunt for these Imperial warlords, or like it's like the Nazis escaped to South America thing, and they're trying to track down like different people so they can, drag them in for war crimes trials, I guess. But because also it makes me like it reminds me of this Star Wars movie I have in my head where it's the Dirty Dozen in Star Wars. Because like I like the book. I like the Book of Boba Fett just fine, but my dream kind of Boba Fett production was that the New Republic essentially goes through since now they've captured all the Empire stuff, was that they go through the Empire's Rolodex of bounty hunters and get Boba Fett and the crew of bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, gets them back together, like Bosk and IG and all those guys, and sends them on a suicide mission, and we have this kind of group bounty hunters movie like the Dirty Dozen in Star Wars. That's my dream Star Wars movie. And so since this is kind of playing on sort of like an idea like that, I like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I wanted War of the Bounty Hunters in the Book of Boba Fett, but and I do like it.
Yeah.
But the best episode of Book of Boba Fett was an episode of The Mandalorian, I think.
Right.
Which is when Dan came.
That was the problem with that. One of the two big problems with that show is half the show wasn't the Book of Boba Fett.
You're right.
Mandalorian season 2.5.
Right.
Yeah. The other one being that it was a kid show trying to portray gangsters, and that just doesn't work, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the other big part of the trailer, or at least for me, being a huge Rebels fan, I have to point out, is that we get Zeb, and not only he's not just walking across the screen or sitting at the bar, we actually see him in a fight. And I think, and if you have watched the footage from Celebration that they've released, or that that has come out on the internet, they have not officially released it, you see him flying as well. So what do y'all Patrick, I don't think have you seen Rebels, all of it at this point, or
season and a half?
Okay.
No, I haven't had another bout of COVID long enough to catch up.
Oh man. Okay. Have you seen it, Thomas? Or
a good bit of it, not all of it.
So y'all are familiar with Zeb, though.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. He was one of my favorite characters of the stuff I've seen. Yeah.
Zeb Aurelius. So I'm
only
very excited.
Only the honor guard can carry a bow rifle.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see him in action with his bow rifle.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to see him, and voiced by I believe Steve Bloom is the voice actor, and he's doing the voice here, because we did see him briefly in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So yeah, and it seems like he's going to kind of be like, maybe he goes on the mission with Din, or he's kind of like, he's in the support ship, because we do see a scene later of Din flying, jetpacking to a U-wing. So I'm wondering if maybe is Zeb is he the getaway driver? If they have to go on, kind of they have to drop Din in and can't bring the Razor Crest or something. So
Did Zeb appear in Ahsoka?
No. Yeah.
Right. So I very much think this is going to be tying him in with them, right? Because
they're getting the band back together in Ahsoka season 2. If there's a reason you don't build the character model of Zeb, for no reason. So I think Ahsoka is going to kind of get the original Ghost crew all back together.
Although she's on that planet, right, or that other galaxy, right? Her and
Sabine.
Yeah, but I mean they've got to come back and fight Thrawn. So
her and Sabine and what's his name?
Shin and Balin.
Yeah. Yep, all in Middle Earth.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've gone to Arda.
Yes.
Yep, they're on Arda.
They'll be back. They'll figure out a way back and all fight Thrawn. If not in Ahsoka season 2 and whatever the wrap up is.
Yeah.
And just some of the other the trailer's a lot of action, so I mean it's hard to kind of describe it all, but probably the coolest scene that I thought was Din fighting these like giant, I don't know if they were droids or if they were like giant cyborgs or like someone's piloting a mech or something, but he's like fighting 3 of these giant things, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know, didn't really ring a bell as far as if that's anything we know of from Star Wars, like that design or anything. I don't know if either of y'all caught anything with those.
No, to me it just looked like big generic robot.
Yeah,
I feel like it reminded me of something from the Droids show from the 80s.
Oh,
but I couldn't pinpoint what. But that had a lot of real outlandish droid concepts.
It did, yeah.
And they're reusing stuff from those, from these things that were not even canon to not even really canon to the original film.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's a Favreau hallmark. He gets excited about that sort of stuff. Hey, we're bringing in blurgs. I'm like, why? But yeah, I don't. So the door has the Hutt syndicate symbol on it. So whatever they're protecting, don't know, but it's got to be involved with the Hutts, right? And so I don't know if it's related to the gladiatorial scene or if it's related to maybe it's a heist. This is a Ocean's 11 style heist where they have the gladiatorial going on upstairs, and they've got they're going to try and rob the bank or rob the casino while the fight's going on. The more I'm saying this out loud, the more I think this is probably what we're going to get.
That seems, you're saying that, and we see Grogu with the Anzellans.
I will say those robots
guys and.
Those robots did kind of remind me. I don't know if you guys had that board game when you were kids, Battle Ball, with all those cyborgs that play football.
Yeah.
They kind of remind me of the designs from that.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look at that a little more, because Battle Ball was sort of based on the Warhammer version of football. Which is, that's interesting. Okay. And I have a rabbit hole I get to jump down.
Yes. And then along with these robots, we also see in a couple different times Din fighting various aliens, which Thomas, you named them, and I already forgot the name of them. But
oh yeah, they're fighting a Mantelian Savrit.
Yes, and it looks like he's fighting one in the ring, but then he's also getting in a bar fight.
And then there's another alien that appears earlier. That thing that sort of comes out of the water and growls. It's got lots of teeth. It looks very flat and almost like a leech.
Cobra.
Yeah, or like a cobra. That is an alien design from the original trilogy. It's this alien that is way in the background of Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. I don't know how to pronounce this, but because I looked it up in my Essential Guide to Aliens book from the 90s. They are called Amanin or Amanin. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but they're this kind of flat cobra-like reptilian species. They do have arms, but apparently they're supposed to be a very technologically primitive race, but some of them have gone out into the wider galaxy as bounty hunters and stuff, because apparently the one in Jabba's palace was a bounty hunter. So I was like, yay, obscure alien from Return of the Jedi. That's great.
Well, and I think he was one of Lando's informants, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
And that's, I think, from one of the comics.
Okay.
So it, depending on when the comic came out, may or not be canon, but still sort of ties it back to Lando, which I think is another property they're working on a potential something for.
I mean, that's they announced that a long time ago, and it's still we still don't know much about it, or they really haven't said anything about it. So, and then the other kind of big action scene we get is the we already talked about it some, but the AT&T on the cliff, and there was a scene shown in the celebration footage, and I think it might have been even I think it was Celebration this year. They showed where Din is kind of riding in it's a model of ATST. It's not of that same like two-legged walker. I think it's the ones they had in the Clone Wars where they're like the cockpit is open and it's
the ATRT.
Yeah. Like you see Din riding one of those down a cliffside in that footage. So it was on a snowy planet, and so I assume it's the same planet, whether it's Hoth or somebody else somewhere else. But I don't know if y'all had any. I mean, I thought it was a cool scene seeing it blow up. He like jetpacks out the top of it, and then it blows up, falling off the cliffside. But
it's funny for me. That's the one part of the trailer I kind of skip over when I watch it again. It just they drag it out a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of get to see the whole scene, right?
Yeah,
they do it that way. I most Star Wars movies, at least the ones that are done well, is a three planet kind of drama, and you have something happen on one planet, something happen on another planet, and then you either go back to the first one or you have a third planet. And so I think a lot of what we saw was the Nar Shaddaa stuff, and we didn't get very much on what's going on the other planets. I think the Grogu swimming scene is probably it, which is why, in my mind, Dagobah's possibility. Could be Mandalore. Could be, heck, could be another planet. Could be Mon Cal, for all I know. And I think this other scene is maybe one of the only bits we get from that planet's story. Of course, this is all wild speculation. So I just feel like that is like, it's a really cool scene, but it tells me nothing about what's going to happen or why it's happening.
Yeah. And I'm sure there will be a trailer with more, with actual dialogue. There's hardly any dialogue.
Any dialogue. Yeah.
So I think we get Rhoda saying,
yes.
Yeah. And then we get
good shot, baby.
And Din saying baby. Most impressive, of course, calling back to Vader.
Star Wars loves quoting itself.
Yeah. So kind of moving on from the action scenes to kind of other characters, do y'all think we will catch up with Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians? Or, and if we go to Mandalore, that, would be silly not to, but do y'all think we will see Bo-Katan or, some of the other Mandalorians that we saw at the end of season 3?
I don't know, because I almost feel like they kind of wrapped up that story essentially, and because at the end, doesn't Din and Grogu go to kind of live on some other planet? They don't stay on Mandalore.
Yeah, they go back to wherever the Mandalorians the show started on, whatever.
Navarro.
Navarro, yeah, because he's gonna go live on a cabin away from the city and take those contracts. And Grogu's his apprentice, because he's adopted him as his son at this point. Because that happens at the end of season 3. He adopts him and becomes Din Grogu. So,
yeah. I kind of feel, the same way. I feel like the Mandalorians probably are not going to be a big part of it. And I just think they're being saved for something else, maybe. This is going to be used to tie in a lot of the Republic kind of stuff. And so you're going to get a lot of the Ahsoka, Thrawn type tie-ins here, and not so much the Mandalorian ones. And then I just don't know how, Mandalore was such a prominent storyline, I think, in Clone Wars, or so important storyline, to put it a different way. I don't know what that looks like on the back end, right? I think part of it's going to depend on what ends up happening with the Imperial, Shadow Council, along with, I am kind of curious what's going on with Maul and all the other, because you have the Hutts.
Well, Maul's dead.
Right. Well, yeah, sure he is.
Somehow Maul has returned.
Yeah.
He returned from his being stabbed and his body burned.
Yeah. I could see it happen. They'll find a way. No, hopefully he's dead. But like the Black Sun organization.
Yeah.
And we got a feel for what some of the other syndicate type groups were doing through the Book of Boba Fett.
The Pikes, yeah.
So obviously there is kind of I don't know, there's always a war kind of going on between these groups, but when you have massive government shifts, there's always spillover. So I kind of expect that to be a big part of it.
Yeah. And that brings up Crimson Dawn is out there still, I believe. So could Kira show up from Solo? Because I don't think her ultimate fate has ever been discussed or revealed in anything. So
I really hope so.
I think, yeah.
I'm not betting on it.
Yeah.
I'm not betting on it at all, but it would be really awesome.
She had a big arc in the comic books recently, but I didn't read it. So. Yeah, she because there was a Crimson Dawn comic run kind of taking place during the original trilogy, and I want to say she had captured Han and Carbonite at one point to trying to like get him away from Boba, and then Boba was betrayed at some point by Bib Fortuna, which is why in the end of Mandalorian or end of Mandalorian season 2 and in Book of Boba Fett, he talks about Bib as his that traitorous worm or whatever he said. Right, so. And why he just goes in and shoots him at the end in that one scene without even talking to him.
Right. Yeah. So I think we'll see the Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians because I think Thrawn is kind of their ultimate enemy, or like the Mandalorians are the ultimate enemy of Thrawn because he faced them in Rebels and he's faced them in, so I think they will be a big part of his defeat, whatever that looks like, in the wrap up, whatever form that takes. But what about other Mandoverse characters? Like, a big one has been Carson Teva. He's been kind of the, he's kind of the Nick Fury of the of the Mandoverse, kind of going around and showing up in everybody's movie and recruiting. I'm putting together a team. So, or do you think Colonel Ward, Sigourney Weaver, has kind of taken over that role for this movie?
That's what I kind of got the vibe from the trailer, at least, that she's kind of filling that role.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see him again, doing that sort of thing, but I kind of feel like he's probably a level down from the Colonel. And so he's sort of on the recruiting side, and she's more on the, okay, you're an asset now side of the ball. But
yeah, and he also could have been busted down because he helped Ahsoka, or he helped Hera in Ahsoka season 1, where he wasn't really supposed. He was part of the mission that went to the planet they were going, that left for Peridia, and he was kind of not really supposed to do that because they didn't want to spend Republic resources checking that out. So, but yeah, so we'll see. But I think one of the other fun characters that's been in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett is Peli Motto. So I was curious if you think Peli will show up in this.
Which one was Peli?
She was the mechanic that repaired the Razor Crests a couple times, and then she built.
Oh yeah,
maybe she finds him the new Razor Crest.
Yeah,
I think she's probably in it, but she's probably kind of a cameo. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, probably, but Yeah.
I mean, this Razor Crest in the trailer has yellow highlights.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a new one.
That's what it seems like. The other thought I had is could it be a flashback to when the crest was new, and maybe we're seeing like a flashback of a young Din.
I don't know, because I think it's going to land at that Rebel base.
Yeah.
Where
I
that
think
has the bar.
We also see Din and Grogu like in the cockpit.
Okay.
I think at one point.
We do see him, in a shiny new Razor Crest cockpit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a new one, but I just have to throw it out there.
I think it's neat to put the yellow highlights because that kind of calls back to the fact that Mando was rocking an N1 Starfighter for a while, even though it didn't have the paint.
Well, it had very similar streaks on it to what we see on the top of the Razor Crest. So I think that's a callback to that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it could be, too, that he still has the N1 and, like, maybe they, when he needs, like, a stronger ship or, when he needs a cargo ship, he takes the Crest, and when he needs just the fast attack, he takes the N1. I think that'd be kind of cool. But, and then we already kind of talked about it, but just to throw it out there, do y'all think Boba Fett will show up in this? Because it's dealing with Hutts seemingly and the underworld, and I mean, it doesn't seem like we're getting a Book of Boba Fett season 2. So I'd like for them to kind of wrap his story up in something, or at least like give him kind of a final appearance in something, if he's not going to get a season 2 of the show.
I kind of expect him to be in it. I fully expect them to be holding a lot of these cards pretty close to the chest, the same way they did with Luke at the end of season 2 for the Mandalorian, right? Because they were leaking stuff that it was a different Jedi or whatnot. So I kind of expect him to be a part of it somehow in some way, but he's one of those we're not going to tell you yet appearances. I'm hoping they're doing kind of the same thing with Mon Mothma. But yeah, that's that. I kind of think he's going to be in it.
Maybe he's the cavalry,
Yeah.
Yes, get him and all the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes back together so he can be the cavalry and come in at the end. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and all these characters, because there was at one point going to be the Rangers of the New Republic, that of course they kind of scrapped after the things with Gina Carano. They have, but I don't know that they're gonna offer her a job back at this point. But
I kind of think they probably will. I think she'll be back.
So? I think at least they're kind of putting ideas, putting the themes from what that would have been into these, into the Mandalorian and kind of the Mandoverse, with like the Carson Teva and the Adelphi Rangers kind of were seeming like, and Din now kind of working for them, because they even say, I think in Mandalorian season 3 they say that Cara Dune is off chasing warlords too. So
right,
it's possible. I tend to think they're probably just gonna not, she and Disney will not have anything to do with each other. But it's possible.
Although now that Andor has kind of opened the door for kind of like more mature in terms of like violence, like Star Wars, my other idea was for them to, explore what she was during the rebellion, the whole orbital drop shock trooper thing.
Yeah.
I thought that would make kind of a really insane, like, kind of like an insanely violent version of Star Wars, but that might be something cool. But yeah.
Yeah. And then, just to give a tribute to Carl Weathers, who I'm sure would have been in this movie, but he unfortunately passed away. Was it last year or year before that he passed?
2024, I want to say, but early, if I remember right.
Okay, yeah, because I'm sure Grief Karga would have been in this movie. He was just like, he was such a cool character, and High Magistrate.
Oh no, he would have been a governor.
Yes.
By this movie, he would have gone even higher. Planetary Governor Grief Karga now.
And his cape thing would have been even longer.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but and along with him, what about IG? IG-11.
Yeah, IG-11.
He was the Marshal of Navarro. So, and voiced by Taika Waititi, and who's supposed to be another Star Wars movie that's supposed to be in the works, but is one from Taika. So, yeah, I could see IG showing up, and they're kind of getting. It would be kind of cool, like you said, Thomas, of getting like this whole crew together, like like you said, Pat, like an Ocean's 11 crew to, like, here's the plan,
the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Well, because what you have is, you have the Rebels crew from Ahsoka, right? And then you have the team Boba Fett put together, which was kind of a bounty hunter team, although it was sort of eclectic group of bounty hunters, not from the original group. And so I think what they want to do is build a team around Din and Grogu, and then have these three teams sort of do stuff in the big crossover event.
Yeah.
As kind of a giant Ocean's 11. I mean, at that point, you're talking, yeah, that's about right. It's about 12 people, 12 to 15, somewhere in that range. So it would not shock me if that's where we end up. Like, this is the team build for, because that's one of the hallmarks of Star Wars. And one of the things I think it always relies on is teams, right? You always have this team dynamic, even ones you build within a single movie, and then, they're all dead by the end of it.
Rogue One,
Rogue One, right? But still,
that was a great team,
right? It's a fantastic team. So, and I think that's probably what we're going to get at the end of this movie is this, I don't know what you would call it, but it won't just be the Mandalorian and Grogu. It'll be the whole team.
Yeah. Well, and then, so I don't know if y'all have heard this. This is kind of one of the rumors too, is that the antagonist that Din will kind of be going up against is Embo from the Clone Wars, which, if you've not seen, he's the guy with the dog, and he's got like the hat that he throws, like a kind of like Odd Job from James Bond, but he's kind of been talked about as the antagonist that Din, maybe he's going after Rhoda, and so Din is kind of trying to get there first. I don't know if y'all.
Is he an alien?
Yeah, he's I forget his species name, but he's kind of got but his name is Embo, and
I remember the hat.
Yeah, he's got the hat and the dog.
Like. Yeah.
You can look him up, but he's a Kyuzo, and so he's kind of got like a glowy eyes and like a little.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's kind of been talked about as the antagonist. I don't know. Again, rumors and speculation. So I don't know. And then one of the other
should have been Dirge. Bring Dirge back.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And then the other rumor that's kind of been floated out there is about Death Watch, of Death Watch being, if there's Mandalorians in this movie, could they be the Death Watch remnants, or like, have been restarted under Rookcast or one of the other kind of surviving members of Maul's original kind of, the Mandalorians, the ones that were loyal to him when he took over. So, because Din is in the original, in Mandalorian, is saved by Death Watch initially, and we still don't know the connection of how he ended up with, Children of the Watch, because they're not the same as Death Watch. So, like, are they a successor to them? It's kind of
like a splinter group.
Yeah, it's kind of unclear how all that works together. So.
They're literally the children of the Death Watch members. Children of the Watch.
Could be. We have a Vizsla in there, although we had a Vizsla, but we do have his
son.
His son is alive. So
yep.
All right, and then so to throw it out there, we've been teasing. This is the speculation that might throw us off the rails. Is Thrawn? So will Thrawn appear in this movie? Because when we last saw him, he was at the end of Ahsoka. He was showing up to Dathomir, presumably to drop off the zombie Night Sister army. It was what it seemed like.
Like you do.
So, do y'all think we will get like the will it be like the post credits we get in Avengers, or in the Marvel movies of we see Thrawn, we see the eyes like glowing red or something, and that's all we see to kind of tease.
Yeah. I mean, I think it could be that. I think there's two ways they could do it. I think they could be that it's the post credits or something, you know, whoever is the antagonist or the person they're trying to stop at the end of this makes it away from Din or whatever, and we see them meet up with Thrawn at the very end or post mid-credit scene, something like that. I think the other way this could play out is he could be the third act. Right. Din or one of the other of this group that gets put together could find out about him. And then it's escape time, right? This is the escape. Like that the rumor they were going after is that he's come back and they have to find out. They have to confirm it, right? Because I think Hera, right, would be able to tell them he's come back, right? But now somebody has to go, some source that is not connected with Hera and whatever that, you know, the easily led wise council of the New Republic can be convinced that Thrawn is back and he's a threat, right? So I have to find somebody else. And so, what's her name? Mon Mothma taps this colonel who taps her, you know, people in the field who says, this guy is the guy we want. And that's the real mission Din is after, is finding out whether Thrawn is back. And then he does. And then Act 3 is getaway time, right? And so Thrawn's probably there, but not very much. But we do see some of the minions, perhaps. Get a couple zombie stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And if, like, you know, since he's returned to the galaxy after a while, he may want to exploit a group that has connections all over the galaxy. And the Hutt cartels certainly do, with their, you know, the reach of their criminal activities. So he may need to, you know, access their, you know, smuggling routes or whatever it is, or just to get information about the state of play. You know, he's been away for a while, so, you know, he may be using them as information brokers, or who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the speculation that I have, which, you know, probably isn't true, but I'm going to put it out there and put it on my conspiracy board, is could Rhoda have information on the Katana fleet, which is from the Legends original Thrawn trilogy? He's chasing after a lost fleet of dreadnoughts, and right now Thrawn is just one ship, or just has the one destroyer. So, and I was hoping at the end of Skeleton Crew, the last scene was going to be his destroyer showing up in orbit to raid the treasury and steal the money that he needs to fund his war. But since we haven't seen that, I'm really wondering if Rhoda has information, or at least people think he has information on the Katana fleet. Like maybe Jabba had it, and so they think Rhoda has it. So I don't know.
Well, I think the other potential hat I would throw into the ring in the same manner would be the location of AT-AT, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the timeline or where, because to me it's not absolutely certain when Skeleton Crew happens. But at the end of Skeleton Crew, the New Republic is aware, right? And so they know where it is. I don't know how much of a state secret it is or whatever.
Right.
There's a possibility because Mandalorian sets up that there are and both Mandalorian and Ahsoka set up there are high-ranking officials within the New Republic who are still loyal to the Empire. And so that information getting fed back either to the Shadow Council or to Thrawn, and then, you know, basically counter intelligence officers trying to find out how much do they know, where do they know, and it just sort of ends with, you know, them getting to AT-AT and finding the vault empty and Thrawn, you know, off to hyperspace kind of a deal.
I wanted Thrawn so bad in Skeleton Crew to show up, because like who you know, chasing the art and chasing the art history and the things like that would be right up Thrawn's alley. So I wanted him in Andor with fighting against Luthen and having an art discussion contest. I wanted him in Skeleton Crew showing up and, you know, chasing after the treasury. But I mean, I think Thrawn is, clearly Thrawn is the big bad that the Mandoverse will have to, contend with. He's Thanos that they have to team up against and defeat, because he's, by the time of the sequels, it seems like it has been a long time of, there's been no war, no major war other than, the First Order kind of doing things in the shadows that only a few people know about. So, presumably Thrawn gets defeated at some point. And I'm assuming that will be the Mandoverse crossover, and that, and then unfortunately that Din will probably not survive that movie or that thing, whatever it is, is my speculation. He'll die to give Grogu the chance, and then Grogu kind of becomes the Mandalorian, takes his full kind of place among them. So, all right. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about in the trailer, or anything in the movie that you want to see that we hadn't already touched on?
Yeah, I just want the music to be really good.
I think that's one thing you can always count on in Star Wars is good music, even if it's not in a good movie or TV show. I think the music is always on point. So
yeah.
Anything from you, Thomas?
I really want to see more of Zeb in the next trailer, because this was like a teaser. So I'm really excited for like the full trailer to come out, where we get a little bit more context for like the plot. Not a lot, but just enough to go on. And to see more of these characters, more of Sigourney Weaver's character, more of Zeb. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll probably be a kind of a full trailer, probably in the a couple of months leading up to the movie, because that's usually about what they do. Is they'll put the trailer out, they'll do a teaser, and then they'll do the full trailer. So
there'll be, I'll bet you it'll be Super Bowl trailer.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that would be about the right time. So
February. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a little bit of time left, so I was just kind of thinking, talking a little bit on what's coming up for Star Wars. Probably the next, Visions is coming up next in terms of what's releasing. Like, probably by the time this comes out, Visions will be out or coming out very soon. But as far as like canonical stuff, I think next up is Maul's Shadow Lord, even though we don't have an official release date or anything. They did show footage at Celebration. So I'm thinking it's going to come out kind of in the spring before because the Mandalorian, they want to do like a full court press on the Mandalorian and Grogu to get as many people in the seats as possible. But I think Maul will kind of show up in the early spring. And then Ahsoka season 2 is also supposed to come out next year, probably in the fall. And then beyond that, we don't really know much. The Starfighter movie is 2027, but they haven't announced further seasons of Ahsoka or further seasons of anything really. So like it kind of seems like they're wrapping up the TV side of things, at least for a while, and maybe they'll do an animated show here and there. But is there anything anything y'all wanted to say on any of those upcoming projects, or just because we're kind of speculating on the state of Star Wars at this point?
I mean, yeah, Starfighter, I think, is the most interesting one to me, because it's supposed to be set, somewhere between 5 and 10 years after the last movie, Rise of Skywalker, right? So
yeah, it's
sort of blank slate-ish, as far as we can tell. I'm just really interested what they're going to try and do with it. Ryan Gosling's about as good as you can get from an actor standpoint. He can play a disturbed half android, half human in Blade Runner, and then go play Ken from Barbie and absolutely nail both roles. So he is probably one of the better actors out there, which unshockingly, that's why he's in, I think, half of the movies that are going to be released next year. It's just trailer after trailer with Ryan Gosling in it. So I am really curious as to what it's going to be, what that show's going to be about, and how much of the sequel folks are going to show up in it, and what that's going to entail. But that, and the director, most of what the director's been involved in has been very good. Free Guy was a great movie. Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine it's probably one of the best Marvel movies, and definitely a return to form. It wasn't the full court press that Thunderbolts was, but it was very good. And so I respect his ability to take a known property and treat it well, to put it like that. Try and not try and make it fit his own vision of how things should be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other movies that are in various stages of development or discussion. Like there's the Rogue Squadron thing, which is supposedly has been back in development for a while, but it's kind of like they keep announcing things and then they go away. So I'm like, until I see a trailer for something, or if Filoni is involved, because if Filoni is involved in it, being in charge of Star Wars at this point, I think it's a good chance it will happen. So I'm probably most excited about Ahsoka season 2, aside from Mandalorian and Grogu, because just I love Rebels. It's probably my favorite Star Wars thing. Pat, you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
I have been, and it's been good.
Do it. Do it. But I love Rebels, so and I loved Ahsoka season 1 because it was very much a reuniting of characters that I love, even though Kanan's not there, who's my guy, my favorite Jedi. So I'm excited to see where and season 2 left it, or season 1 ended in such an interesting place, and like it seems like they're gonna do some legends, like, because if we want to do an Ahsoka speculation episode, I'm there for that.
Gotta wait for a trailer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably not till after the Mandalorian and Grogu, but hopefully hopefully the fall. And then just to touch on it, because this came out recently, there was the pitched news of a pitched Ben Solo sequel film by Adam Driver, and it apparently made it to the point there was a script and art was made, and and Lucasfilm kind of gave it the green light, but it was shut down by Disney. So I don't know if I think we were talking beforehand, y'all had seen this news, but I personally would be happy to see what they were going to do. Like, we know Ben Solo died, but I could see them, the Force can do whatever you need it to make like we've seen it change and do different things, and some of it good, some of it bad. But I mean, you could have Ben Solo come back in some way, even, whether as a, Force ghost, or whether as like the Force, we're all in Middle Earth, re-embodies him like an elf, and Tolkien or something for some task or something. So,
or it's a clone, who knows?
Yeah. My joke pitch is that it was going to be, 30 years from now, Palpatine returns again and they have to clone Ben Solo to fight him again. And
oh, that would have been terrible.
But
I'm going to bring my long sigh over from the secrets of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if Pat's sighing angrily, that's probably our sign to wrap things up. And yeah, as we touched on Visions, and we didn't really speculate on that because very soon we will be covering that.
Be talking about it.
So yeah, the season 3 of Visions, and this one is a return to anime, because season 1 was all anime studios from Japan, and season 2, and they were from various studios and various styles. Season 2 was from studios around the world. There were some from Britain, some from, I think, India and China, and other places as well. Yeah. But season 3 is returning to Japan and anime, and including 3 sequels to the season 1 film shorts.
3 of the best ones. So
the Duel, the Village Bride, and the Ninth Jedi, and they're also doing a Ninth Jedi series of some sort after this. I don't know what length or what it's supposed to be, but
the smile on Thomas's face was very Totoro like. It's like super childlike, super happy smile.
So
yes, nice job.
yes.
So very soon we'll be covering that series. So that'll kind of be our coverage until probably until Maul comes out in the spring. So whenever that happens, or maybe it won't happen that early, we'll see.
Because and just like briefly, the Ninth Jedi is like one of my like favorite Star Wars things that they've come out with recently, because it somehow distills Star Wars kind of back to that pure form almost. I just love it. Like, and I love that it supposedly takes place in like the far, far future of the timeline or whatever. So it really is kind of a blank, like we were saying about Starfighter before. It's like a blank slate, and they can just do, they can get back to basics. And so, yeah, no, giant smile for the Ninth Jedi, more Ninth Jedi content.
Yeah. Well, and all the Visions episodes are like, they're not part of the canon. They're kind of their own, like each one pretty much exists within its own universe. And then there's, you can imagine it taking place or kind of being a version of Star Wars. And then some are very different. And some are kind of like the Ninth Jedi. You could imagine that being in the main timeline. So, all right. But I think for now, that is it for this episode of The Secrets of Star Wars. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make the show possible, including GR, Peter G, Daphne M, Chris P, and Carl D. Their generous donations help us to create The Secrets of Star Wars and all the shows here at StarQuest. And you can join them at sqpn.com/give. And now we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. What did you think of the Mandalorian Grogu trailer? And do you have any theories? Will Palpatine somehow return? You can let us know by sending us an email at starwars@sqpn.com, on our social media pages, or by leaving a comment on our channel on the StarQuest Discord server, which you can find at sqpn.com/discord. So until next time, thank you, Thomas Salerno, for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Wars.
Thank you, Jeff.
And Patrick Mason, thank you as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
And once again, I'm Jeff Haecker. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Technology. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/technology.